the previous speakers, the Dr. Gaurav Rao and Dr. Lakshmi Narayanan. And this is what we see. We saw that it is a friction stir welding comparison, FSW of aluminum versus steel. Friction stir welding of aluminum is quite easy, but friction stir welding of steel is a very challenging one. So you see that the tool is the problem. If you see that in aluminum side, the tool is, the temperature is very, very low. But in the steel side, you see the temperature, it's going to the red hot condition. So that is the challenge. So you cannot, the previous speakers told, not even Dr. Gaurav Rao was mentioning, it looks so easy of welding this high melting temperature material. So first I want to differentiate what is the low melting temperature material and high temperature melting material. As far as the friction stir welding is concerned, we can clearly mark 1000 degrees centigrade. If the melting point of the material is 1000 degrees and less than that, so they fall under the low melting temperature material. If the melting temperature of the material is more than 1000 degrees centigrade, then it falls under the high temperature melting materials. Because as far as the friction stir welding is concerned, if suppose, for example, copper, the melting point is 1050, 1050, that's a copper melting temperature. So we can do the friction stir welding or friction stir processing in copper, because now using the temperature during friction stir processing is something around 750 degrees centigrade or 800 degrees centigrade only. So that is manageable by the conventional tools and conventional machines. But if you take the steel, which is 1550 degrees centigrade melting temperature, so the steel obviously it will reach around 1100 to 1200 degrees centigrade during friction stir welding or friction stir processing. So at that temperature, 1100 or 1200 degrees centigrade, the tool, whatever the tool, whether it is SSS or super HSS, they will not withstand. The tool wear is the big problem. And also not only the tool, the machine also should be capable. So the minimum is 10-ton machine is required in the Z-axis force, and even for welding 12 mm and less than that. And also during welding, the deflection of the tool and the spindle is another problem, and vibration is another problem. So the tool holder, so you have seen that in the previous clipping, the tool is going to the red hot condition. So you should remove the tool heat by using some cooling system. So at the temperature, so that's the red hot condition, definitely there will be a reaction of the tool and the workpiece material onto the surrounding. So there should be a shielding gas shroud is required. So these are the difference between the ordinary aluminum alloy welding and the steel welding. So that makes the job very, very tough and very, very challenging one. So it is not so easy like as in the case of aluminum and magnesium alloy. We'll see that. So this is a machine what we made in 2008. It's a CNC controlled friction stir welding machine. It is financially supported by Ministry of Environment and Forest, Government of India, New Delhi, under the clean technology scheme. Because this process, as I told in the morning, it's a clean welding process, environmentally clean process, eco-friendly process. So under that scheme, so they have given 1.5 crores. This machine cost alone 75 lakhs. That time it's 2008. Now it will be around it's more than 1 crore. And the FSW operation for high melting temperature materials is slightly different from the aluminum alloys and magnesium alloys. Here it is the plunging. There is 5 stages: plunging stage, and the dwelling stage, and then ram stage and travel stage and retract. So when you compare with the low melting temperature material, in there it's a plunging also there, and dwelling is also there, and travel is there, and retract is there. The only difference is ramp. So after plunging, then you have to give sufficient time for preheating. So then that time is called the dwell time. So from dwell time, you should not increase the speed, welding speed, rapidly. So you have to increase the speed very gradually. Then when that's called the ramp stage. So that in the high melting temperature material, all the stages, it's a plunging stage, dwell stage, and ramp stage. And travel stage is very, very essential because they have a lot of forces acting on their the things. So in the plunging stage itself, tool wear will occur. Pilot, so to overcome this tool wear problem, normally people go for three different methodologies, approaches. One is they will make the pilot holes before plunging the tool. They will make a pilot hole, a blind hole or pilot hole, and then they will plunge through the pilot hole. And then preheating, as Dr. Gaurav Rao pointed out, you can use, it's called a thermal stir process, preheating. So he also demonstrated at room temperature and 300 degrees centigrade preheating and 600 degrees preheating. At 300 degrees preheating, it's the joint performance was good. So this is preheating is one method. We can use, there are a lot of sources out there. People are using the oxy-acetylene flame, and some people are they used TIG welding, TIG arc, and some people are used the laser. So there are different sources they are using for preheating the plate. It's not the tool, it's preheating the base material to be joined. And then it's another thing is it's go for a very, very, very slow plunge rate. So if you do that, then it's during plunging, the tool wear can be minimized. And then this is what I told that now you make a pilot hole and then do it a slow plunging rate. And then you apply the ramp very slowly and then you retract the tool. So the essential variables which will affect the process is load acting on the tool. That's very, very important here. A lot of loads acting on that, and peak temperature and heat transfer. So these are the things, and it's all again rotational speed, travel speed, material design, that you know that. So this is the first 3 points is very important as far as the high melting temperature material joining is concerned. And you have to consider the load acting on the tool, because tool failure is inevitable and unavoidable. So the peak temperature, that is also you have to control, and the heat transfer is also to control. So this is the very important in this case. And you see that if you use improper, the proposal tool with the displacement that is if the tool displacement is too shallow, the width of the weld will be less than the tool shoulder diameter, and the material will not properly flow under shoulder and around the pin. So this will result in non-uniform flash and material that will not close behind the pin as shown in figure. And it's the incorrect, if you use incorrect parameters, that also leave subsurface defects after near the exit hole of the weld. So this is improper process parameters that the shoulder also get damaged, thermal damage, and sometimes the pin also will failure. So the failure will occur in the pin. So improper process parameters is you cannot, if you use an aluminum alloys and magnesium alloys, if you use improper process parameters, that will not affect the tool, but that will affect the joint. That's the base material. But here, when you're going for joining this high melting temperature material, if you use improper process parameters, it will damage the tool. That's the damage the tool. As I told you, the tool is the heart of the process. So the heart itself will be damaged. So here, so one should be very careful while selecting the process parameters concerned. So you cannot use all the material as tool materials as far as the joining of high melting temperature material is concerned. So if you want to use as a tool material, then the tool material should possess, these are the characteristics it should have. One is the high temperature strength, and the other one is wear resistance. It should have very good wear resistance and low reactivity. It should not react at high temperature. It should not react with the base metal. And then, so if you have all these characteristics, it's difficult to manufacture. So this manufacturing is also very, very important, because you need to provide the sufficient tool diameter and the taper and the shoulder diameter. So all the profile you have to make in the tool. So that manufacturing is very, very important. Manufacturability. Then finally it is the toughness. So these are the requirements. Once the material satisfy all these requirements, then only you can use the material for the friction stir welding of high melting temperature material. You cannot use all the materials, whatever you think, whatever you come into mind, you cannot use it, because some of the materials will fail any one of this character. So if it fails, then the tool will be damaged, then tool will break. So the potential tool materials are based on these above characteristics. Basically, it's two types are there, two groups of materials to be used. One is the refractory metal alloys. Basically it is a tungsten-based alloys, molybdenum-based alloys, and tungsten rhenium alloy. These are the refractory metal alloys. And another group is very popular in the machining also. Conventional machining is a super abrasive, polycrystalline diamond PCD, and polycrystalline cubic boron nitride PCBN. So these PCD and PCBN will be used as the tips. Only the portion of the pin and the shoulder is made separately, because you can make the full tool, but the cost is very high. So to reduce the cost, what they'll go for, they'll make shoulder portion and the pin portion only from PCBN or PCD, and that will be mechanically clamped with the tungsten-based tungsten rod or tungsten-based alloy rod. But the refractory metals, so the tungsten, molybdenum, tungsten rhenium, are now widely used for the high melting temperature materials. Right, so this is the tungsten tool. If you use the pure tungsten, okay, if you use the pure tungsten tools, the tungsten is, that it's a good high temperature strength. But it has poor room temperature toughness. So it is a rapid tool wear occurs. So you see that after before welding, the tool is like this. After one welding, so it will become toolless. A lot of tool wear will take place in the pure tungsten base alloy. So the tungsten alloy, tungsten tool, pure tungsten tool is ruled out for joining the high melting temperature material. So then they go for the alloying it. So tungsten rhenium is the one alloy tool that is able to withstand the high temperature application. This is one welding, new one, and after the welding. And the tungsten rhenium hafnium carbide, that is another tool material that is also used for this purpose, is concerned. But PCBN tool is an excellent tool because it has excellent high temperature strength and abrasion resistant, chemically inert. It will not react with the surrounding or the base metal, limited in size, relatively low toughness. That's the one problem, it's a relatively low toughness. So it is a very high hard next to the diamond. And diamond, its a structure is crystal structure with carbon boron occupying alternate lattices, and CBN powder created with high temperature, and that's by powder metallurgy route they are making it, and this is sintering and the high temperature sintering and then pressing, then they'll get the required shape itself. Even in the Gaurav Rao showed some pictures. They have the liquid cooled the tool holders for this. So you need the coolant is required. So gas shroud and the provision is when you use PCBN, it will be used as a tip. Okay, only the tip. So the tip consists of pin portion and the shoulder portion, not the entire the tool is made up of PCBN. So that should be protected from from heating very high temperature. So normally they'll use the liquid cooled holder. You cannot use the conventional tool holder. You need this type of liquid cooling holder. Then only you can protect or prevent these tools, expensive tools. And there are many methods, many provisions are there. This is the cut section inside how the cooling water, the water is circulating through the circuit and other things. So that even Mr. Venkatesh showed that these are the development that took place in the tool is concerned. All right, so there are many preparations required. So it's, you have to clean and the free from oxide surface, no gap larger than 1.5 mm at any butting line. So the clamping should be perfect. So it should be a very high, because a lot of forces will be acting. So the clamp should be perfect. It's not like the clamping like in the aluminum alloy and the magnesium alloys. Here you require perfect clamping of the base material. So dwelling stage also it's very important. So it's the because it takes some time, 5 seconds, while the tool remains at the desired plunge depth. So you need to allow say 2 minutes to reach the preheating temperature. And then travel again, it is it's we have to travel it very carefully in the initial stage because a lot of force stresses will acting on the tool material. If you malfunction, if you operate, so definitely the tool will break and you will be end up with a lot of losses. So retracting also at the end of the weld, tool travel is stopped and compressed air is blown on the collar of the tool. Then only slowly you have to retract the tool. You should not retract the tool. Okay. So these are some of the precautions you have to take while welding, while joining this high melting temperature materials. So I will show the few case studies what we did in our center. It's first one is interstitial free steel. Actually, we started with the steel because it's easy to of the all the steels. This IF steel is very easy to weld by this friction stir welding process because it has very large, it's very high ductility. So this work was done by Dr. Lakshmi Narayanan when he was doing PhD here. And then IF steel, you know that it's interstitial free steel, so very low carbon and low nitrogen content. So this is the chemical composition. You see that carbon content is almost 0.002, that's the carbon content. And this is the microstructure of the IF steel. And it's full of ferrite grinds, alpha grinds. Its average grind diameter is 20 microns, is the as received condition. And then we used here two different processes for comparison. One is GTW, that's a TIG welding, and the FSW. And this is the cross section, macro structure of the welded joints. You see that the top one is friction stir welded macro structure, and the bottom one is the GTW joints here. And you can see the interface between the heat up zone and the base metal and heat up zone with the still zone. There is a difference, a lot of difference you'll find in the interface. And then this is very important, fusion zone. In the TIG welding, we used to say it is a fusion zone because it's a autogeneous welding without pillar metal addition we welded. It's a 4 mm thickness only. Without pillar metal addition we welded here in the TIG welding, GTW. And this is friction stir welded IF steel joint still zone. You see the difference in the grind size. So here it is 80 microns average grind size in GTW, and FSW it is only 5 microns. A very fine grinds formation, and due to the dynamically recrystallization effect in this friction stir welded joint. Again, that effect is there in the heat of the zone also, finer heat of the zone, and the GTW it is a coarse, very coarse. You see that is 105 microns here. Here it is only 220 microns. So because of this microstructural difference, changes in the fine formation, you see that this base metal is 282 megapascal, and it's TIG welding, when you do the TIG welder joints gave the 208 megapascal, and the FSW it is 274, very close to the matching with the base metal tensile strength. But in the TIG welding, it is 26% lower, but here it is only just 3% lower when compared to the base metal strength. But the elongation, you see that the elongation, base metal elongation is 53. That's why it is easy to friction stir weld IF steel, large elongation. But in the GTW, you see that the elongation is greatly reduced to 22%. But here in FSW, it is, though it is less, but when compared to the TIG welding, it is much higher, and it is coming close to the base material. So that's why the joint efficiency, you see that 97% in the FSW joint, only 3% less compared to the base metal. That's a great advantage of this process. And then it's So the next case study is so we did some work on the ordinary mild steel, which is available everywhere, and this work also Dr. Lakshmi Narayanan did here, and this is end of the movement there. Yeah, so this is the microstructure, mild steel microstructure. It contains the ferrite and pearlite grinds, and the carbon content is 0.18%. And this is the photograph during the FSW, and this is the clipping. We used our machine, CNC controlled friction stir welding machine for joining this mild steel. So you see that the tool is undergoing a lot of stresses, and also the temperature is enormous temperature. The temperature is something around 1100 degrees centigrade at that point. It's not melting there, but it is going to the red hot condition. So that's a great challenge. At the temperature, at the forces, the tool material should withstand its profile, its dimensions, its geometry. So these are, after welding the cross section, we observed that a lot of regions, different regions with different microstructure, and you will find enormous, nearly 5 different regions itself. So it's it's a top region, and the flow arm, this region is called, and that's a shoulder influence region. And B is the middle region, it's a still zone middle region, and the C is the bottom still zone region, And below that, there is a swell zone here, the side, and then it is a thermomechanically affected zone. And then you have in the steel, definitely you have coarse grain and fine grain heat affected zone. And again, there is unsymmetry of advancing side and retreating side. But here we didn't compare with other processes, but we just welded, we compared with the base material. The base material strength is 421 megapascal. FSW has given the higher strength than the base material, but elongation is less, 20%, and toughness also less. Okay, so only the strength is higher, but the ductility is reduced. Toughness is also reduced. So it was very interesting, and it's critical to us. Then we went for we didn't know what the reason. So then we measured the hardness. The hardness at the still zone is higher than the unaffected base metal and other area. So this is the peak. It's going through the very high hardness was recorded in the still zone. And we went for the microstructure analysis. You see that in the top region microstructure and bottom region and middle region, there is enormous change. Even this is the thickness is 5 mm thickness. It's only 5 mm thickness. The plate thickness is 5 mm. Within 5 mm, there is a changes in the microstructure. And this is the heat of the interface microstructure. And then it's we went for the SEM and EDS analysis. In SEM, we found a lot of in the still zone, in the swell zone, especially in the swell zone region, we found a lot of white spots. So these white spots, then by using EDS spot analysis, we found that these are all tungsten. And because we use the tungsten as a tool, during this friction steel welding, the tungsten, the tool material has worn out. The worn out particle or debris are deposited in all over this stress zone. That's the reason the hardness is high and toughness is lower, and strength is high and ductility is lower because it's the presence of this tungsten particle. The tungsten particles came from the tool material because of the wear that took place. So though we are applying the joints, but the tool wear is minimum tool wear, very small amount of wear is occurred there. So FSW and ferritic stainless steel is another work we did. Actually this is the PhD work of Dr. Lakshmi Narayanan, and I don't want to. So this work was done in our the center. You can see that is friction steel welding of ferritic stainless steel. So the stainless steel, you have 5 different types: austenitic stainless steel, ferritic stainless steel, duplex stainless steel, mortar stick stainless steel, and precipitation hardenable stainless steel. So we started working on the ferritic stainless steel because ferritic stainless steel, it has some problem while you are welding with the fusion welding process. So to overcome those, to eliminate those problems in ferritic stainless steel, because austenitic stainless steel is not a big problem of welding the fusion welding process, but this ferritic stainless steel will give a lot of problems like grain coarsening, and the many other problems are there. To overcome this, we went for the solid state welding process, FSW. So these are the joints. This is the FSW joint, and this is the GTW joint, and it was compared. And let's see that's macro structure. You'll find out a lot of difference between in the macro itself. Again, it is, I think it's a 3 mm, 3 mm thickness. And it's the tensile test was conducted on the specimens. And the FSW joints, you see that the strength is very high and the ductility is also better than the TIG welded joints. The values are given in this table, and you see that the tensile strength is 574. It's this is the base metal, it is 536. And in the joint, the FSW joint is a transverse tensile joint. Transverse, it is extracted in transverse direction. It's a 574. It's higher than the base material. And if you extract the specimen only from the weld region, so you see that the strength is enormous, 906. And the GTW, it is lower than the base material, 420 megapascal. So when compared to GTW, the base metal, the GTW joint is 23% lower strength. The FSW 7% higher strength when compared to the base material. So these are the observations. And impact toughness, FSW has given well. So this weld metal is 30, base metal is 34. It's closely coming. Even in the HAZ, it is 29. But you see that in TIG welding is much lower, 20 and 11 at heat of the zone because of the coarse grinds. And Yeah, this is the microstructure of various regions, the pin influence region, shoulder influence region, and then its advancing side and radiating side and low temperature heat of the zone. These are the various regions, the microstructure, the ferrite grains are changed, and it's a comparison of the GTW, so all coarse grains, and compared to the, and lastly stainless steel also we did some work, but very elementary work. You see that it's a base material microstructure, and this is the FSW at the center. It's a DRX, this is on microstructure, and this is now say the because of the temperature is there for formation of sigma phase is observed in the bands. So that is the one problem here. And if you expose more time for the 600 degree to 700 degrees centigrade, the sigma formation will occur. But the failure doesn't occur in the well region. It's away from the well region. That's in the heat of the zone where the temperature is exposed to 600 to 700 degrees centigrade. And the titanium alloy also we did some work on that. And you see that it's a comparison of GTW, LBW, and the FSW. And the properties are given. The base metal is 1000 megapascal, and FSW we reached almost close to the base material strength. And LBW is 985, and GTW is 939. The very important thing is the elongation is lower in FSW when compared to the laser beam welding. Laser beam welding and the GTW is performing better as far as the ductility is concerned. But strength is concerned, FSW is greater than the all other joints, other process. So the TM transmission electron micrograph. This is the alpha and beta is alloy, titanium alloy, alpha, beta, titanium alloys. So that's the size of the alpha and beta grains are finer in the FSW than compared to the GTW and the laser beam welding. So that's the reason why it is behaving superior properties. So the again cooling rate, heat input is, so the FSW is the heat input is in between. The GTW very high heat input 1.72 kilojoules per mm. LBW it is very low, it's 0.146 kilojoules per mm, but FSW is 0.23 joules kilojoules per mm. So cooling rate is fast here in TIG welding, slow cooling because high temperature, and here the temperature, peak temperature is low, then the fast cooling occurs, but here the peak temperature is in between TIG and LBW, so medium cooling, the cooling rate is medium. So because of this cooling rate difference, the alpha colonies and the width of the colonies, the change is occurring here. So tensile strength decreases because of the slow cooling, and alpha colony size is wider, bigger, so it is low strength, but toughness is higher. But in the LBW, it's a fast cooling, so this is the alpha colony size is less, smaller, so the tensile strength is higher, but the toughness is low. But in the FSW, it is medium. Though it is medium, it reduces. There's a small decrease in the impact toughness. So finally, somebody asked in the morning, I don't know if they are in the line or they are left. So this is the person, not person status. This was done some, I think it's more than 5 years back. Not in our country, it is in the foreign countries. So you see that how they are joining the big pipes, the steel pipes using this process. Okay, then you can understand where this process have gone, where it is. So all your doubt will be clear. The capabilities of this process is it will be cleared if you look into this video clipping for 1 minute. So this is a big steel pipes, and the steel pipes are held rigidly, and this is the clamping devices and rails. In the rails, the tool head, so the tool holder will move. The entire tool holder will move. So this is a very important part. So you need no need of column type and other type of machines. Even if you have the machines like this, it's not machine, it is only the head, the hydraulic actuating head. So that head is tool hole, it's used as the tool holder. So that gives all the required, the forces required for that, the downward force, the rotational force, and the traverse force. All the forces are given by the hydraulics. So you see that the entire head is moving on the rails. So the rails are fixed on the pipe and it is moving on that. So the tool holder, let's say the steel pipe is welding. You see that what we obtained in our lab for welding stainless steels and carbon steels, that the same condition is there in this material also. So what are the shape, what are the geometry, what are the material? If you have the proper the machine and proper fixturing and proper tooling, then definitely you can do that. All the components can be weldable by this process. So there is a this plate. It's actually there is a runoff plate. So that's morning. The election warden also telling somebody is also asking that exit hole, how to avoid the exit hole. You closely watch this. So after completing one cycle, one revolution, one complete, okay, they will run into this run on tape plate. So finally, then they will remove that plate. So you will not get any exit hole at the end. So they have given the support inside, mandrel type of thing, and inside for the to withstand the forces. And here this is for outside for rails and the clamping. So they are using this. So they see that this is finally it was ended with the run on the plate, and they are removing it. So they will remove it now. So you will not have any exit hole after completing one cycle. Okay, perfect weld. So just they'll do small cleaning and it's fine. Okay, so this is the status. This is the stage. So, but our country is lagging in this aspect. The machine building aspect is concerned because the reason is the industries are not coming forward. The industries are not taking up this process further. That's the reason, because the industries always look out for the low-cost solutions, not for the high-end solutions. Okay, so there are, as per our knowledge and as per experience, this process, the joint performance is nearly it is 20% higher than the 20 to 25% higher than the conventional fusion welding, TIG welding, MIG welding process. So don't worry about laser beam welding, electron beam welding, because it's a huge investment. But as far as the TIG welding, MIG welding, manual metal arc welding, whatever process, if you compare, the performance of the joints is 25% higher. Then the cost is in the consumable side, no filler metals, no wedge preparation, no shielding gases. These are all reduced, and the manpower also reduced because there is no need of a skilled welder. If you want to do a TIG welding, you need a skilled welder. But if for this process, you can automate very nicely, and it's a and above all, a cleaner process, environmentally cleaner process. All right, quickly, 2 minutes about our center. This is our Center for Metals Joining Research. We have 10 labs in one center. This starting from fusion welding lab, solid state welding lab, plasma lab, and physical metallurgy, mechanical testing, and tribology, thermal spray, and high temperature lab. So far, we have completed 35 R&D projects worth of 10 crores and 5, not 57, 5 ongoing projects are there. And the center has published more than 400 plus research papers in Scopus Index Journal. And we are also offering the course called the ME Welding Engineering Program with industry participation. These are the faculty members, myself heading the team, and Professor Malarvi, Professor Shanmugam, Dr. Srinivasan, Dr. Rajkumar, Dr. Sivaraj, and M. Seeman. So they are all working under this center on different aspects of welding. These are the various funding agencies where we got the projects, R&D projects, so to the tune of 14 crores so far. And these are the facilities in materials joining. So we have almost all the welding machines except electron beam welding machine. Okay, so that's, anybody who want to use this facility, you can always welcome with the clear work plan and methodology. And this is a photograph of this materials joining lab and the machines. And this, we are also working on surface engineering side, and we have facilities for surface engineering like HO spraying, plasma spraying, wire arc spraying, and also tribology lab and corrosion testing lab and nano coatings lab. These things are there. And so these are the photographs of the instruments and equipments. And then it's newer materials. That's also we are working. We are developing newer materials, synthesizing newer materials, nano materials, and carbon nanotubes and other materials. Also, we are working for this. We have the facility like tubular furnace and tap melting furnace, EBPVD, and sputtering machine. And these are the facilities. These are the photographs of those facilities. If anybody is interested, general facilities also there for testing and characterization. And if anybody wants to use this facility, it's open to all. But we will charge a minimum charge. We will charge for when you are coming here, because it's you are outsiders. Even for our students, we are charging. So outsiders definitely will charge. But it is when compared to IITs and NITs, it's much lower. The charges are much minimum. These are the finally it's about the C major. Right. This is about department. The department, we are Department of Manufacturing Engineering. We are doing this thrust areas of research, materials joining, surface engineering, synthesis of new materials, material processing, manufacturing management. And these are the courses we are offering. The department is offering through the Annamalai University, be mechanical engineering, specialization in manufacturing, ME manufacturing, ME welding engineering, and PhD in manufacturing engineering. If anybody wants to pursue, or you can convey this message to your students or your people, those who are interested about this department and other things. So this is contact details. You can note it down. As my mobile and email ID is there. Also, you can visit this website for further details. So you will get all the details. So thank you. And any clarifications, we can quickly take it up, a few clarifications, and we'll wind up because it's nearing 6:30. Thank you for your patient listening. Thank you for your interest on this workshop. I understand. I hope that you have gained some knowledge when you came here, when you joined.
Okay, thank you, sir.